Hello, my name's Nisha-Emily and this is my Unit 9 Perspectives in Psychology. Cognitive psychology. Cognitive psychology is your knowledge and your mental process. For example, how you remember things and how you perceive things. Cognitive psychology also plays a role in your problem solving and the choices you make, as well as how you act. It also includes how you understand speech, your environment, your problem solving, your memory, and how you recall. Cognitive psychology also includes your attention. An example of this would be our brain telling us that we can't be focused on more than one task. An example of this would be watching TV whilst being on your phone. Cognitive psychology has two parts. The first part is bottom-up processing, which is how your brain collects the information from your surroundings and translates the information, which then creates a signal, which is then transported to the brain. The second part is top-down processing, which uses your knowledge and life experiences with the surroundings and environment around you. Social psychology. When you change your thoughts, how you feel and your behaviour based on the people around you. This can either be in real life situations, being told information by other people or via the media. An example of this is called social influence. Social psychology studies the behaviour, thoughts and feelings. Your thoughts and feelings. An example of this would be if a group of people were to be drinking around you, then you would naturally feel somewhat pressured that you don't want to miss out on drinking or the experience, so you then drink alongside your peers, but this can also be seen as peer pressure. Social psychology changes the choices Social psychology changes the choices, makes you change your choices based on the people around you. This can either be positive or negative, e.g. people wanting to fit into society, so they riot, so they see people and then copy said actions. Social psychology also includes what is classed as normal in society. This is why we change our behaviour, thoughts and feelings, because if we don't do this, then we may be looked down as not normal and be judged. Cognitive psychology evaluation. Cognitive psychologists believe that your behaviour and your actions are fueled by your mental process, as well as watching situations and people. Your mental process also increases your memory, how you reason with things, like situations, and your language. This can affect the way you act, which could make you adjust your behaviours towards others around you, as well as your recall. Psychologists believe that your cognitive psychology is influenced by your mental processing. Cognitive psychology assumptions. Your internal processing can be observed rather than using logic and should be studied in a scientific way. Your brain can process information the same way as a computer does, e.g. processing inputs and outputs, as well as storing information and gathering information. Your input is what you see, your processing is how you think, or your thinking process, and your output is the way you behave, speak, or how you interpret it. The way your brain processes things and information can cause certain behaviours, such as impulses. Your experiences and memories have an impact on your internal mental process, which aids how you interact with other people and the world around you. Limitations in cognitive psychology. The risk of dismissing certain emotions and feelings which may affect the way you act and behave. An example of this is the Yerkes and Dodgson study in 1908, where they found that anxiety can have an impact on your memory and understanding of past events. Individuals who have been diagnosed and do have schizophrenia or bipolar are quite often overlooked. Most studies are done within a simulated environment which doesn't really match real life situations, which may make the participants feel like they're being watched and feel pressured to perform better. Also, during experiments, the researchers could influence, or the participants could change their behaviours or the way they think/feel because of the cues from the researchers. Strengths in cognitive psychology. With the technology advancing, we are able to use MRI scanners to produce strong results which can be duplicated if needed. The use of different therapies such as CBT can be used in the treatment of mental illnesses such as depression. Social psychology evaluation. Your social psychology is based on yourself and individuals in your surroundings, which can affect your emotional state. Your social psychology can also make you act/behave in different ways, such as the way you present yourself, who your social influences are, and what impact they may have or may not have on you. Social psychology also studies individuals and how they act when other people are around them. This can be anything from the way you understand your awareness with things, or the way you conduct yourself in certain situations, surroundings, and around other people. Social psychology assumptions. Individuals in and around your surroundings can have an impact on your behaviour and the way you think. Your relationships with others can have an impact on the way you think and behave. The way you act happens both in the company of people or when you are alone. The way you act depends on what activity or setting you are in or what you are doing at said time. You may act differently when you're on your own, as you are not being influenced by other people. Social psychology limitations. Social psychology studies are done in a simulated environment which doesn't reflect the real world, and this can also affect the results. Individuals' personality traits can easily be overlooked as the researchers are looking at the situation more than how it can actually influence them and their personalities. Strengths in social psychology. Social psychology can help improve social problems such as discrimination and can help there be a change as individuals are focused more on their behaviours. By studying different cultures, researchers can get an idea of cultural differences and how they may arise and how to prevent them. Key theories in cognitive psychology. Jean Piaget's theory of cognitive psychology development, 1936. Piaget believed there was 4 stages within a child's development. The first stage being the sensomotory stage, which happens between birth to 2 years. This is when infants use all their senses, such as look, see, sound and touch, to become familiar with their surroundings. The second stage is the pre-operational stage, which happens between 2 to 7 years. This is when children start to discover speech and take part in creative play, such as doctor and nurses, but they are also still trying to understand others during this stage, such as other children or family members. The third stage is the concrete operational stage, which is 7 to 11 years, when children start to think more logically about their surroundings and tasks at hand. During this stage, they also start to understand conservation. This is knowing that there is the same amount of liquid in a glass. If you had a tall glass with that much liquid and then a shorter glass with the same liquid, it's if they understand that they are the same quantity of water with the different size and volume. The fourth stage is formal operational stage, which happens 11 years to adulthood. This is when you start to think more deeply and have more hypothetical thinking, as well as having a better understanding about your surroundings and situations. The limitations are the sample size was too small because he used both his colleagues' children and his own children, which means it was lacking diversity. The strengths were that Piaget was the first psychologist to study cognitive development, which had a massive impact on the education system. Key theories in social psychology, Taffer and Turner's social identity theory, 1979. Social categorization. This is when people class themselves and others within certain social groups based on their characteristics such as age, race, and gender. Social identification. When an individual within their group adopts the characteristic of said group by changing their values and behaviours to fit in with said group. Social comparison. When you compare yourself to other groups and could see them as rival groups, which can lead to conflicts between two different groups or multiple groups at the same time. In groups, which is us, and out groups, which is them. The in groups is what you identify as, and the out groups are the groups that you do not identify as. Positive distinctiveness. The need for your group to be shown in a positive light and making other groups appear negatively. The strengths of this theory was it had a massive impact on psychology and has influenced other research on things such as social influencing and stereotyping. The limitations were the theory overlooked individuals' personalities and life experiences, which can have an impact on your social interactions and the way you identify. Similarities and differences between perceptives in psychology. Nature and nurture looks at your biology and the surroundings that you were raised in. Determinism and free will, how your behaviour is managed both internally and externally, and being able to have free choices. Reductivism and holism looks at your behaviour step by step and your thinking process. How factors within situations can affect your behaviours. And research methods, which empirical research, which is normally done in a lab setting where they collect data whilst using scientific methods. Non-empirical research focuses on observations to collect data rather than scientific. Similarities, nature and nurture. Cognitive and biological psychologists believe that nurture has an impact on individuals' behaviours. The differences are cognitive psychologists believe that both nature and nurture has an impact on behaviour. Biological psychologists believe more in nature and focuses on the individual's brain, genes and nervous system. Determinism versus free will. Cognitive psychologists believe they are linked to an extent in some way, however cognitive psychologists believe your thinking process can be foreseen, whereas biological psychologists believe that your behaviours are based on your genetics. The differences of determinism versus free will are: cognitive psychologists are self-determinists, which means they focus both on internal and external factors such as your thinking process and your surroundings, whereas biological psychologists are hard determinists and believe that your genes affect your behaviour and is involuntary. Research methods. Both cognitive and biological psychologists both do empirical research methods. The differences in research methods are: most cognitive psychologists depend on empirical research, however Paget's theory used non-empirical research. Contemporary issues, mental health and well-being. Psychodynamic perspective, psychodynamic therapy. Psychodynamic therapy is a speaking therapy during your sessions you are giving tools and researchers to understand your feelings and how they have an impact on your behaviour. Its aim is to uncover past experiences and trauma which may have been hidden before. It is used to treat multiple mental health issues. The strengths of psychodynamic therapy are: it focuses on you as a whole and on multiple parts of your brain and helps you understand why your trauma is affecting how you behave or how you present yourself. However, it can have a long-term effect on you as you are more aware of your feelings, thoughts, and your emotions. The limitations of psychodynamic therapy are: it is not fit for all mental health illnesses. It can also have as I said previously, a long-lasting effect on an individual with uncovering past trauma. It is also a very big time commitment, as it's normally over 50 sessions, and this can also be expensive in the long run for some people. Contemporary issues: diversity and inclusion, behaviourism, observational learning. Psychologists believe that when observing children, it can help reduce issues like discrimination and increase inclusion. This is mainly seen in settings such as schools and workplaces. The strengths are by having a leader who actively promotes and practices inclusion, such as a manager, teacher, senior, or older people, can have a positive outcome, as it can encourage others to follow and copy their behaviours. The limitations of this are: people may do observational learning, however their views may easily be changed by things around us, e.g. the news showing more negatives than positives in a situation. These are my references, and this is the end. Thank you for watching.